There's a room in King's Landing that decides the fate of an entire continent, and almost nobody can tell you its name. It's not the throne room. The throne room is for tourists. The throne room is where you go to sit on a chair made of swords and look powerful for the small folk and the singers. The actual machinery of the realm lives one corridor over, in a quiet little chamber with a long wooden table and a handful of mismatched chairs. They call it the Small Council. And here's what I want to convince you of today. Every single scene that happens around that table is secretly an argument about what power even is. Not who has it, what it actually is. The show keeps marching different characters into the same room to give you their answer, and the trick is that each one is wrong in a different, very revealing way.
Right. Safe travels, cousin.
Before anyone says a word about power, look at who isn't at the table. When Robert Baratheon is king, the one seat that's almost always empty is the king's. Robert is off hunting, or drinking, or being loudly magnificently bored by the actual job of ruling. The most powerful man in the Seven Kingdoms cannot be bothered to attend the meetings where the Seven Kingdoms are run, and the realm just keeps running without him. That is your first clue, and the show plants it in the very first season. If the kingdom functions perfectly well while the king is out chasing boars, then whatever is holding it upright is sitting at that table, not on that throne. The throne is the symbol of power, the table is the thing itself, and the show spends 8 seasons quietly insisting that those are two completely different objects. But the one time Robert does drag himself to the table, the show gives us a masterclass scene, and it's worth slowing down on. It's the council meeting where word arrives that Daenerys Targaryen, an ocean away, is pregnant.
Or is pregnant.
You're speaking of murdering a child.
I warned you this would happen back in the north. I warned you, but you didn't care to hear. Well, hear it now.
Robert wants her killed, a child, an unborn one, on another continent. Ned refuses, calls it murder, and resigns the hand's pin on the spot rather than sign off on it.
She dies.
I will have no part in it.
And here's the thing the scene quietly reveals. Robert gets his way. The order goes out. The honorable man's objection is noted, respected, and completely ignored. Watch the rest of the table during that fight. Varys supplies the intelligence with a sigh of regret.
I understand your misgivings, my lord. Truly, I do. It is a terrible thing we must consider, a vile thing. Yet we who presume to rule must sometimes do vile things for the good of the realm.
Littlefinger weighs in with a shrug.
At her throat. Be done with it.
Pycelle murmurs about the wisdom of decisive action.
That she should die now, so that tens of thousands might live.
We should have had them both killed years ago.
Not one of them is horrified. They've all done this math before. The lesson sitting underneath that scene is darker than the assassination itself. At this table, morality is just one more variable, and it almost never wins the vote. Ned thinks he's casting the deciding ballot. He's casting a protest vote, and the realm doesn't keep minutes for those, which is the whole problem with Ned Stark. He's freshly appointed Hand of the King, the man meant to run this council in Robert's absence, and he walks in and makes the single most honorable, most fatal mistake available in this entire universe. He believes the title is the power. He treats Hand of the King like a job description, when in this city it's really just a target painted on your back. Watch him in those early council scenes. He asks direct questions and expects direct answers, the way an honest man does.
Without the king.
And the room is full of people who are playing a game so much deeper than his that he doesn't even know it has rules. Varys offers sympathy that costs him nothing. Pycelle offers wisdom that always, somehow, serves whoever's strongest. Littlefinger offers help with a smile you would not buy a horse from. Ned thinks he's surrounded by colleagues. He's surrounded by a betting pool, and he's the horse. And the detail that should have terrified him, the one that terrifies me every rewatch, is the ledgers. Ned digs into the crown's finances and discovers the kingdom is drowning in debt.
How could he let this happen?
Millions of gold dragons, most of it owed to House Lannister and the Iron Bank of Braavos. The master of coin, this small smiling man called Petyr Baelish, has a glittering reputation for conjuring gold out of thin air. Sit with that phrase for a second. Conjuring gold out of thin air.
The master of coin finds the money, the king and the hand spend it.
Because that magic trick is the most important illusion in the whole series. The crown isn't rich. It's leverage to the eyeballs, and the only reason the realm hasn't collapsed is that everyone agrees to act as though the books balance. Does that sound familiar? It's Varys's riddle stated in coins instead of swords. The treasury has money for exactly the same reason the king has power, because enough people believe it does. Littlefinger isn't the master of coin, he's the master of the collective pretending that there is coin. And Ned, bless him, reads the ledgers and sees a math problem. He should have seen a confession. Ned's tenure at that table is the show's opening thesis stated as a tragedy. A man who confuses the office of power with the substance of it does not get to keep his head. Now take two members of that council off the council floor for a moment, because the show wants to stage a literal debate about the topic. Cersei, the Queen Regent, and Littlefinger, the Master of Coin, are circling each other, and he tries to remind her who really holds the cards. Knowledge is power, he tells her.
Knowledge is power.
It's a great line, and it's the closest thing Littlefinger has to a religion. He genuinely believes that the man who knows every secret quietly owns every person in the room. And then Cersei answers him.
Seize him. Cut his throat. Stop. Wait. I've changed my mind. Let him go. Step back 3 paces. Turn around. Close your eyes. Power is power.
Look at what the scene is actually doing there. She lets him hold his theory for exactly as long as it takes her guards to put steel against his neck. For about 4 seconds, knowledge is power is the dumbest sentence ever spoken, because knowledge doesn't reattach a head. Then she lets him go, and the lesson lands. In this city, the person who can end your life mid-sentence sets the terms. It's a brutal, clean piece of theater, and Cersei is completely convinced she just won the argument. But here's the contrarian read I'll defend to the end of this video. She didn't win it, the show is setting her up. Because power is the philosophy of a person who only understands the kind of power you can hold in your fist. And every character in this show who believes power is just force eventually meets someone with more force, or with a subtler kind of it, and loses everything. Cersei's whole arc is the slow, agonizing discovery that the guards holding the knife answer to whoever they believe in tomorrow. When Tyrion takes over as acting hand, the council's spymaster pulls him aside for a little lesson. Varys, the eunuch, the spider, the man with no army, no lands, and no name worth anything, asks Tyrion a riddle.
Power is a curious thing, my lord.
He sets up a scenario.
3 great men sit in a room, a king, a priest, and a rich man. Between them stands a common sellsword. Each great man bids the sellsword kill the other 2. Who lives, who dies?
And then Varys gives the line that is, I'd argue, the actual thesis statement of the entire series.
Power resides where men believe it resides. It's a trick, a shadow on the wall. A very small man can cast a very large shadow.
Stop and look at how that demolishes both of the theories we've already heard. It eats Cersei's power is power, because force only works if the men holding the swords still believe they should obey you. And it eats Littlefinger's knowledge is power, because knowledge is only worth anything if other people believe what you know matters. Varys's answer is deeper and more disturbing than either. Power isn't force, and it isn't secrets. It's the shared agreement that someone is in charge. It's a shadow on the wall, and we all agree to be afraid of the shadow. Which means power is the one thing in Westeros that evaporates the second enough people stop pretending it's there. That's why a boy king sits the Iron Throne, while grown men with armies do as he says. Not because Joffrey is strong. Joffrey couldn't win a fistfight with a footstool, but because everyone has agreed to act as though the crown means something. And the small council is the room where you can actually watch that agreement being negotiated breath by breath. Now for my favorite proof, and the scene this whole essay is built around, because it's the council scene that argues the entire theme without anyone explaining anything. It's the small council meeting in Season 3, the one fans just call the chairs scene. Tywin Lannister, the real power behind the throne, has called the council, and he's already seated at the head of the table when everyone files in. And here's the staging trick. All the other chairs have been lined up along one single side of the table, so the seating isn't decided yet. The seating has to be fought for, live, in front of us in total silence. Watch Littlefinger move first. He practically scurries to grab the chair closest to Tywin. He is the knowledge is power man, and his instinct is to be nearest the ear of whoever's strongest. Varys and Pycelle fall in behind him, settling for proximity, accepting their rank in the pecking order without complaint. Then Cersei refuses the whole arrangement. She physically picks up her chair, carries it around to the other side of the table, and plants herself at her father's right hand. That's the power is power woman in a single gesture. I don't take the seat I'm offered. I seize the seat I want. But notice the irony the scene buries in it. She has to lug her own chair across the room to claim a status that real power wouldn't have to lift a finger for. And then there's Tyrion. Everyone turns to look at him, waiting to see where the dwarf, the new master of coin, the family embarrassment, will meekly sit. And he takes the last remaining chair and drags it, slowly, loudly, deliberately, all the way to the far end of the table. The chair shrieks against the floorboards for what feels like a full geological age. And he sits down at the opposite end, directly facing his father across the entire length of the table. That scrape is, I'd argue, one of the loudest sounds in the entire series. And it's just a chair, because here's the medieval grammar the scene is speaking, and it's real history, not invention. At a great hall's table, distance from the host was distance from power. The honored sat near the head. The lowly sat below the salt, far down the board. So when Tyrion drags himself to the very foot of the table, he's doing two things at once. He's accepting the lowest seat, and by accepting it on purpose, loudly, he's turning it into a throne of opposition. He sits across from Tywin, not beneath him, the two poles of a magnet that will never stop repelling. Nobody in that scene states a theory of power. They just sit down, and the blocking tells you everything. Where you put your chair is where you've decided power lives. And once you see the table that way, the council stops being a place where people talk and becomes a machine for testing the theories in real time. Look at Tyrion's first real move as acting hand, the leak test. He suspects someone on the council is whispering his plans straight to his sister, so instead of accusing anyone, he sets a trap built entirely out of information.
But remember, the Queen mustn't know.
Ooh, the Queen mustn't know. I love conversations that begin this way.
I plan to marry Princess Marcella off to Theon Greyjoy.
Theon Greyjoy.
He tells Littlefinger a completely different plan, and he tells Pycelle a third, the offer to the Dornish.
I'm brokering an alliance with House Martell of Dorne. Princess Marcella will wed their youngest son when she comes of age.
A secret he's handed to no one else alive. When that exact secret comes boomeranging back through Cersei, the leak identifies itself.
No one but you.
It's a gorgeous little scene, and it's pure Varys theory in action. Tyrion doesn't beat the traitor with force, and he doesn't even need the secret itself to be true. He wins by controlling what each man believes is real, by casting 3 different shadows on 3 different walls and seeing which one moves. That's the small council functioning exactly as the show defines power, a room where the truth matters less than who believes which version of it. So let's connect the chairs. Every major answer to what is power gets a body at that table, and the show grades each one mercilessly. Ned believes power is the office, the rightful title, and the office gets him killed in the first season. The kings believe power is the throne, the chair made of swords, and the show kills them off with almost contemptuous ease, one after another. Cersei believes power is force, power is power, and force keeps her alive longer, but every win costs her a child and a piece of the world she thinks she controls. Littlefinger believes power is knowledge, secrets traded like coins, and he climbs higher than anyone has a right to. And Varys believes power is belief itself, the shadow on the wall. And he's the one who keeps surviving regime after regime by quietly serving whichever shadow the people are currently afraid of. Notice the pattern. The men who win the council are the small men, the ones with no armies, the ones the seating chart says should sit below the salt. The eunuch and the brothel keeper and the dwarf run rings around kings and queens. Because they understood the riddle. They're the very small men casting the very large shadows. But the show has one last crueler turn of the knife, and it's hiding inside Varys' own riddle. Power resides where men believe it resides, and the most dangerous thing you can do is start believing in your own shadow. Littlefinger spends the whole series telling everyone that chaos is a ladder.
Chaos isn't a pit. Chaos is a ladder.
And the climb is all there is. And he climbs and climbs until he starts believing he's untouchable. And the moment he mistakes his own myth for solid ground, a teenage girl has his throat cut in the Great Hall of Winterfell. Cersei finally claws her way into the chair at the head of the table, the actual Iron Throne, the thing she fought everyone for. And she gets it just in time for the shadow to evaporate, for the people to stop believing, for the whole agreement to collapse on her head. Literally. The trap of the small council is the trap of power itself. It rewards the people who know it's a trick, and then it destroys them the instant they forget. So go back to that empty chair we started with, the king's seat that Robert never bothered to fill. That empty chair is the most honest object in the entire show. It's telling you, from the very first season, that the crown is the shadow and the council is the candle, and the hand that moves in front of it. Every scene around that long wooden table is the show asking you the same question Varys asked Tyrion.
A king, a priest, and a rich man.
And a common sword. Who really rules? And the small council's answer, scraped into the floorboards by a dwarf dragging his chair, is this. Power was never the throne, and it was never the title, and it was never even the knife. Power was always just the room agreeing, for now, on where the shadow falls. And the moment you believe the shadow is you, that's the moment somebody quietly moves the candle.
A very small man can cast a very large shadow.